Could two of our original 6 NHL franchises in the Blackhawks and the Rangers pull off the biggest blockbuster trade of the season, with Patrick Kane probably landing in the Big Apple? We also have another fairly significant update on the Coyotes situation with their unpaid debts and getting things caught up so they're not locked out of their arena. And we have news from the NHL waiver wire as well. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As you can see, I'm not in my normal studio location. We are on the road this weekend, having a little bit of a mini family vacation today. We're visiting Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. So quite a beautiful little city here on the east coast of Canada. Been here many times. Certainly a beautiful place. Certainly a place that's very, different times of year you can visit. Lots of great things to do in the summer with the sandy beaches and the beautiful attractions outdoor-wise. But Charlottetown's certainly a great, quaint little city when it comes to the holidays. And they certainly have lots going on for Christmas and such. So certainly a beautiful spot to visit. If you haven't already done so, I certainly want to put it on your list of places to visit. It ranks right up there as a nice place. Doesn't matter what time of year you want to take it in. Now on to today's NHL news. We have news from the waiver wire. First up, the Ottawa Senators have placed veteran defenseman Michael Del Zotto on waivers. Now, in yesterday's video, when we were talking about the trade bait board from Jeff Merrick's recent article for Sportsnet, he was listed there mainly because he apparently wants out of Ottawa. Not real happy with how things have gone so far. He had a 2-year deal at $2 million a season, but he hasn't been playing on a regular basis. I made it known early. I thought this was one of the worst free agent contracts signed in the NHL. Another terrible, terrible job by the Senators from their pro scouting team and picking up a veteran guy for way too much term, way too much money that was not going to work out. They had to fill a couple holes in the blue line with a vet or two. They brought in Nick Holden and Michael Del Zotto. And Holden I'm okay with. That wasn't so bad. Of course, he came over from Vegas in the Evgeny Dodonov trade. That wasn't a terrible pickup. He's making less money, less term, and he can actually, be a little bit more of an okay third pair defenseman. Whereas Del Zotto, he's okay offensively, but overall he's not great. And to give him $2 million a year doesn't sound like a lot, but for a guy that's been working off PTOs and 1-year deals and really not, getting an extension from many places, suddenly for the Sens to offer that much to me was a little bit crazy. And again, he seems to be well liked by the team. The young guys really take to him in that sense, but at the same time, he's just not playing a lot and getting the job done. Their blue line's certainly the weak link of the team, in my opinion. And guys like Del Zotto and Holden, not really a big part of the future. So because he had requested a trade, and I really highly doubt there's any kind of interest out there. So this is a way for the Senators to put him on waivers. And if he clears, they can go to him and say, listen, we tried to get you a new start somewheres and nobody picked you up. That means nobody is interested with your contract. So unfortunately, you're stuck here. You can either play him in the minors or he can continue to be in and out of the lineup on a needed basis at the NHL level. So we'll see where that goes. The Sens really need to improve their pro scouting area when they're signing veterans. They've drafted very well, developed very well, but even a few trades that they've done, some for the most part have worked out decently. But free agency, oh, what a mess. It's been terrible for them. That's certainly the area they need to get better at if they're going to really move forward here as a franchise. Now, as I mentioned, we have some more updates on the Coyotes situation. Of course, we know the Board of Governors is still meeting in Florida right now. Lots of NHL reporters down there covering those meetings and the topics being discussed here. And the Coyotes was certainly a topic on today's agenda. Gary Bettman certainly made a few comments essentially saying that the Coyotes situation, there was no problem. They're not going anywheres. All that, which is the normal rhetoric you hear from Bettman, which is fine. If they can make it work, maybe they're not going anywhere. So I'm not saying for sure that they are, but what I'm saying in this last bit of reporting here that we've seen a lot of, mostly started and covered by Katie Strang of The Athletic, it doesn't look good. It looks really, really bad. And Katie Strang took Bettman's comments saying there was no issues and he also mentioned he still feels the city of Glendale has an agenda against the team and they're trying to leverage them into signing like a long-term lease, which is not the case at all. So Katie Strang took those comments, went back to Kevin Phelps, who was the arena management team's contact here for this report, and he said, if Gary Bettman and others want to believe that not filing 17 consecutive monthly tax returns was a human error, then so be it. So like I said, to me, that smelled like BS right from the get-go. There's no way you can just have human error and suddenly not remember to submit your taxes and pay your bills for 17 consecutive months. Like, there's just no way. I'm sorry, like, nobody that runs a business is that bad and making that many mistakes. At least, it's intentional. If you can't pay it, you don't want to pay it or whatever. He said they also use the same excuse when they failed to pay team employees before. So if you look back last offseason, there were some delays with some players getting their signing bonuses, and they used the same error, that there was human error and that it was being rectified. Checks in the mail. It's still a bad look. Like, why is it your players have to come after you for that? Why does the city have to come after you? And like I said yesterday, even though they dropped off a couple of checks to pay the taxes and everything, they still owe for arena rent. And the city of Glendale, essentially, like, he confirms, like, they don't have an agenda against the Coyotes. They just want assurances that they're going to be paid in a timely manner. That is it. I mean, they're tired of being a debt and bill collector. Like, this is supposed to be, a partnership, a collaboration where you provide a service, you get paid for that service. You shouldn't have to, track them down and hunt them down and wait 17 months to see any money. Like, it's beyond ridiculous. So that's where they're at. That's the agenda. They're prepared to move on from the Coyotes. They said they already have a massive renovation planned for the arena as soon as the season is over, and they're moving forward. So, like, they don't have an agenda here. I don't see any scenario, extremely unlikely. I'd put it at maybe 1 or 2% in my own opinion, based on what they're saying here, that there's any chance that they could even work out a 1-year extension, let alone a long-term extension. So, I don't know. It's a really bad look. It doesn't make any sense. And it really gives me a lot of uncertainty that they're just not anywhere near being financially sound as they need to be. The team's been bleeding money. It's lost, in the last 5 years, I think it's lost like $30-some million. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's lost a lot of money. Like, they don't turn a profit. And this team is just continuously losing. Like, they can't seem to move forward with the attendance and all the other, things that you can do to make money there. Like, it's just not working out. They've been there a really long time, and that ultimately they do need a better, more stable location that will play a big role. If they can get the Tempe Arena and that whole project can work out, and they can get, some long-term stability that way, it probably will help when they stay for, I don't know how long, an extended period of time. But it's a really bad look on this ownership's group to be that far behind on your bills and then to basically give BS lies as to why you're behind. So at the end of the day, that's the update. And to me, it's still a situation where I don't have confidence in their ability to stay long term based on all these reports. And like I said, I feel bad for the Coyotes fans. I hate to see them move. I know that they're, I don't know where they're going to go. Like, a lot of people feel Houston's the most likely logical location if they do end up having to move. I don't want them to move. I want stability in the NHL. But this market has struggled for years and years and years. And now we're at that point where I just don't know. It's make it or break it here. And they have to decide here soon. So we'll see where this goes. And I'm sure this, like I said, I don't think this story is over. They still have more debts to pay, and we may not have heard the end of them having issues with the arena management team and the city of Glendale here in the short term. So we'll see. Now, the big rumor here, the big trade talk we want to talk about today, comes from Larry Brooks of the New York Post, suggesting that the Blackhawks and the Rangers make good partners to pull off a major blockbuster trade, the biggest trade of the year, ultimately sending future Hall of Famer and current winger for the Blackhawks, Patrick Kane, to the Big Apple to be a part of the New York Rangers before the trade deadline to help them hopefully win an elusive Stanley Cup here. So we'll see where this goes. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but he feels the Rangers have a lot of the young assets to offer up to the Blackhawks to make this intriguing. Of course, Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane's contracts are coming to an end here soon. They've only got one more year left after this year. It's a lot of money to absorb, and maybe Chicago would have to absorb some money here, which ultimately would be part of the reason why the package going from the Rangers is quite extensive here that he suggested, and a lot of that's probably going to be because of that. If they retain money, they're going to want more coming back for doing them a favor to make the numbers work out. But he's suggesting that the New York Rangers could trade young forward like Vitaly Kravtsov, who we know wants out of New York and wants a fresh start somewhere else. He's also including Kaapo Kakko. Now, you have to admit, as much as Kakko and Lafreniere both look to be pretty, decent players, they're still young. There's still lots of time to develop. It's too early to judge, but neither one of them, considering they were number 2 and number 1 overall respectively, have not really lit it up like you would thought, being that high of a pick. They're a little bit slower to develop. I know under David Quinn, I think that was part of the issue there. I mean, this year we're seeing some progress, but they're still considering that Kakko's in year 3, Lafreniere's in year 2, it's, I don't know. I'm not really overly concerned. I'm not using the B word as a bust at all. I'm just not sure that they're living up to those standards there just yet. But it's early. It's early in their careers. There's lots of time. They're still very young. We don't want to be too judgmental or critical just yet. But I can understand why, with all that young talent there, that the Rangers might consider something like this. Now, we also think they're going to have to include a first-round pick in this year's draft. At this point, the way they're playing, they're going to be high in the standings if that continues, and it could be a low first-round pick. So that might not be so bad in the end. And he's also thinking they're going to include a young defenseman, and he suggests Nils Lundqvist. Now, I think they're pretty high on Lundqvist. I think they would probably, if they really seriously went after this, would probably try to go with a different defenseman, maybe a Zach Jones. Would probably be the preferred here. I mean, to get Kakko, Kravtsov, Jones, and a first for Kane, that's pretty substantial haul at this stage of his career. But if they're going to have to hold back money, then that's a lot. I mean, you're giving up 3 young, solid prospects here and a first-round pick, which could be a young, solid prospect too. Now, of course, we know that they're possibly adding a top 6 winger of some sort to replace Sammy Blais, who's out injured for the season. Another issue this might cause as well is if they bring on Kane, they may have that much more of a challenge retaining Ryan Strome. We've already talked about the fact that that's going to be a challenge, and there's been some talk that maybe he doesn't stay with the Rangers beyond this year, but I must say it's been a great fit for him there. He's played extremely well, with especially with Panarin. To me, it makes a lot of sense if they can keep him. It's just going to be tricky cap-wise. We did learn today from the Board of Governor meetings that the cap is expected to go up by $1 million for next year. And we're probably looking at about 3 years out when that $1 billion debt from the players to the owners is repaid. And then at that point, once that reaches a paid-in-full status, the cap is expected to rise dramatically. We should see a huge increase at that point in time. So the rumors that the Rangers are likely looking to add a top 6 forward before the deadline. They're having a phenomenal season so far. Could we reunite Kane with Panarin? We know that was absolute magic. I mean, if you could have a line of Strome with Kane and Panarin, and of course you still got Zibanejad and Kreider, you got Lafreniere, you still have all kinds of other weapons here. To me, that's a pretty solid group of top 6 forwards. Kane could be that missing piece to really help put them over the top. Of course, he's got a number of Stanley Cups to his name. He's got lots of playoff experience. He could be that X factor for them. I mean, it's hard to say for sure that something like this happens. It's a huge deal. It's not easy to pull off. Like I said, the Hawks would almost certainly have to retain a chunk of money, probably 50% of Kane's salary. They may have to make a corresponding move to have another roster player removed to make the numbers work as well, because the guys we're taking out here don't make much money. Kakko's still at the end of his ELC. Kravtsov's not even on the roster. The first is a future, and then Nils Lundqvist is on an ELC too. So there's not a lot there in that regard, right? So clearly it's a situation where they'd have to juggle some money around. It would be a challenge, but it would make them an extremely deep team up front and could be an extremely interesting blockbuster trade if something like this were to go down. So let me know your thoughts on Larry Brooks' suggestion. Does Kane to the Rangers make a lot of sense? And is this package he's suggesting, do you think that's what it's going to take if they were to do it? Is it too much? Let me know your thoughts down below, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Again, coming to you from Charlottetown, PEI will be here for the weekend, so we'll be in 1 or 2 more videos posted here while we're here, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.